Hello and welcome again to North Central Journal. I'm Scott May, and joining us for this segment of the show, Leominster Mayor Dean Mazzarella.
Well, hello there.
Who you have quite the distinction of being the longest serving mayor in the history of the Commonwealth. Is that correct?
That might be true, but it doesn't.
Does it feel like
doesn't bring anything with it. There are no trophies or ceremony, nothing. And who knows? I mean, there might be somebody out there that.
Yeah, who's actually keeping the stats on that? I know.
I don't know. Somebody called and said, "Yeah, I did a Google search. You're one of the longest serving mayors in the country." And I said, "And okay, and so, and then what?
Is there a check?
Is there something? A card? Anything? You know?" Can I go to Hallmark and get a card that people can mail?
So 30 years as mayor.
Yes.
Prior to that, Leominster Police Department.
Right, I started.
That's quite a leap from.
Yeah, well, you know,
into politics.
I always, I never wanted anything to do with politics. Trust me, still don't. And but I always wanted to be a cop. I was one of those kids that I wanted to be everything: firefighter, cop. I wanted to be a plumber. Anything I saw anybody doing that looked interesting, construction, tractors. I wanted to do it all. But I knew I wanted to be a police officer. So one of the happiest days of my life was definitely getting sworn in as a police officer. And I stayed 10 years. And I met, and people are like, "You miss it?" I'm like, every day. Yeah. Every day. There's no like, "Hey, Mayor, can I talk to you?" And, it's you, right? And there's that camaraderie when you're a police officer, and you learn from each other, and you develop, new friendships. And so, not that those still aren't there, but yeah. So then I decided to shift gears and try another path, which skills are transferable, really. I mean, you think you just leave it all at one address and go to another, but not at all. I mean, life's experience really are transferable.
No, speaking of police department, you've got a new police facility in Leominster, and has it been moved into? Is it
June 3rd, somewhere around June 3rd.
Okay.
We'll be ready to do a public opening so people can come in. But it's the first time we built a police station in 60 years, and it's built for another 60 years. But the building team, the contractor, all the subcontractors, all the municipal people that work on it, purchasing and the comptroller, everybody's been one big team effort, and it's gone along really well. It's a good project.
So you are a Leominster lad, born and raised, and now you're the mayor of the city you grew up in.
Yeah, that's
how does that make you feel?
Well, the only way I can even begin to tell you is after I got elected, they have an orientation. It's strange because now I teach part of the whole orientation for new mayors, newly elected mayors. And I went to it all, and a little bit in awe. You meet with all these people down in Boston. It's a nice orientation. And then I'm coming home, and of course it gets dark early, right? I'm in November.
Yeah.
And I'm coming up over Route 2, and just as I'm coming, I decide to come like the old way of Mechanic Street where Gold Farm is.
Sure.
And just as I go over the hill, the city opens up. You can see St. Cecilia's. You see all the lights. You see all the houses, and then bang! It just hits you like, I'm the mayor of that city. It's like an Eddie Murphy flashback. You're like, okay, now what am I gonna do? I gotta it's all of a sudden it just like comes crushing on you. It's that moment, bang, it hits you, and that was the moment for me.
What is your philosophy for your community and a strong community over the years? What has driven you? What has made you want to make Leominster a better place?
Well, you know what? I grew up there, and you remember things as a kid.
Yeah.
Then you remember having kids, right? I mean, it's all, you remember your parents working. It's all like inventory in the back of your mind. And at the end of the day, it's kind of a complicated description of what community is or what a neighborhood is. Because a church, a neighborhood, a youth group, whatever it is, it's all community. And for me, that's kind of the driving force. I had a great childhood. I had good education, loved living in the city. I had a good job as a police officer, opened businesses in town. Why not everybody else? Why not share that fun and excitement and help to be that piece to build, to help build that community, wherever it might be.
Over the course of your years as mayor, what would you list as maybe your top accomplishments to date? Obviously more to come, but to date.
So when we were kids, there was near the mall was a place called Whitney Field.
Sure, yeah.
And that's where everybody went. We had pools there and everything. And then it got vandalized. The city didn't really, restore it or renovate it and keep it up. Eventually, they closed it. So we had two options: a small basketball court at Lancaster Street School and an even smaller one at Spruce Street. But then those were taken away and redeveloped. And one is a housing project. The other one was it turned into they closed the school. And then there were no places for anybody, for young kids, to play. So played in the street. Thus comes from street hockey, right? Right up there in French Hill, Mr. Leclerc, street hockey. And so you play football, you play baseball, and then you wait for the cars to come by, everybody pot the seed, and you come back. And we did a project, took a while to do it, it's done in phases, right next to St. Cecilia's Church. And it may not be the most glamorous of all projects, because we've done other things like schools and the library and of course the police station now, and renovations to the fire station and bridges and roads and parks and all that, bought open space. But to drive by every day and see all those families out there playing, and it's a pretty good sized park now, that is kind of like my big deal, if there had to be one.
Yeah.
Because for a lot of families, 3 decades, these are hardworking people. And let's face it, in communities, that wasn't always where the funding went, right? And now they have this beautiful park, and they take care of it. We never have any problems down there. And the kids are out there playing soccer. Little kids have a tot lot in the back. You could just run. You could ride your bike around. That one probably for me is the one that gets me the most. But Shoalin Farms.
I was going to mention that open space preservation.
I don't know where to go. I mean, remember, let me back up a second.
Sure.
If you can create trust with people, so you can mess up a lot, but once you start to build that trust, so when you mess up a lot, they may give you that chance to say, yeah, he's just out there learning. He's trying things. He's not afraid to try. Not everything's going to be successful, but once you can build sort of that team where people are now like, like we were talking about going to a restaurant. Everybody wants to go to a good restaurant. Everybody wants to go to a busy restaurant. Nobody goes by a restaurant and says, there's nobody here, let's stop in. Yeah. So once you build that trust, you get that momentum, and it's almost unstoppable because it's really community-based, right? It's everybody, no matter who it is part of this, this team of people getting things done in the city. And so Shoalin was obviously a big deal. I mean, that was a beautiful part of the city. We had a reservoir there. Sterling has a reservoir. It's a special part of town. There were so many special pieces of it and it's the last apple orchard in the birthplace of Johnny Appleseed. It's like going to Hershey, Pennsylvania, and finding out they don't make chocolate there. It would be disappointing. So there were so many, but they're all projects that. I guess the common denominator is it's all projects that a bunch of people work towards. It was community-based.
Right.
That's the success of it all. I was just the guy at the head, saying, "Oh, charge." That's all. I mean, that's it.
Now you've got a couple of industrial parks that have been in the process of being developed, and what is the schedule for those?
So we have one now that's almost full. Just about full. I was there the other day where the Registry of Motor Vehicles is.
Oh, sure,
That's about full.
Yeah.
And then there's another one behind Target. So we're going to open up. We have a couple $1 million in a grant we got from the state, bring it further up extend the infrastructure. And that's going to open up quite a bit of land up there. I forget exactly what the acreage is, but we haven't, nothing against sort of these big warehouses that you see. I mean, if you've been up to Lee Valley, Pennsylvania, they're just everywhere. I mean, it's like a subdivision. But we only have so much land, and we try to create those environments where good working, good paying jobs, manufacturing. So we haven't really kind of advertised ourselves as a place to put big boxes. It just, for us, it hasn't worked. For other people, it has. But we're hoping it'll bring in more, life science businesses, manufacturing, businesses that employ a lot of people at decent wages. So that'll be an exciting project for the spring.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, we're pushing ahead in the first quarter of 2023, and what is ahead for Leominster? What's on the agenda? What can you tell us about projects and plans for the coming year?
We always are, and that's one thing. I used to be like the procrastinator. Like, I'd be at Kenny Posco's office, at like 2 minutes of April 15th on tax day. I'd be there. Kenny, can you help me with my taxes? But I got much better. There's just kind of the necessity of it all. I'd go to Billy Colley's at Colley's to be planting. I'd be like, "What are you doing? It's August. What are you doing in here?" And he's like, "I'm planting poinsettias." I'm like, "Poinsettias?" So you gotta be a better planner. Uh-huh. And so for us, on our infrastructure, we spend a lot of time. We have spent a lot of time on, what are the funding sources? What is the likelihood that we can get funding for these projects? But let's make sure we know what they are and what the costs are and what the benefit is to the transportation system around here. So we did that when we were able to get the parking garage built on Nashua Street. But all the improvements along Route 12, that was done in 4 phases. The final phase is right now in front of Water Tower Plaza that you're going to see. That is widening of the road. That's started out as a $4 million project. It's like 11 or 12 now. Oh. It's huge. And it's going to widen all those, that intersection down there. We did Route 12 all the way to Fitchburg line and then further, because Fitchburg picked up on it, went right to downtown. And that happened as a result when we were working with Fitchburg to try to get that bypass. And we did everything anybody could ever imagine to try to get a bypass. But going over the railroad or by it is the whole thing in itself. You got to have proper sight distance, too many intersections along Route 12, exits and entrance. So finally the state said, you know what, let's improve 12. Let's get 12 moving and functioning so we stop all this congestion on 12 and 13. So, and then we did the interchanges around 12 and Route 2. So that you're going to see the final piece of Route 12 in front of Water Tower Plaza. Route 13 will get finished this year. We're going to start on in front of where Francis Drake School is on Viscaloid. They're going to do Safe Routes to School as a grant program. They're going to do it started out as $1 million. It's now over $3 million. State loved it so much. Very walkable. People walking to work, walking to the mall, walking to shopping, going to school. So they're going to do end to end from Viscaloid, from Mechanic Street all the way to 117. Complete reconstruction of the roadway there. So those are just some of the things that'll be happening in the city. And but we've always got plenty of projects in the pike, depending on what the funding source is. And should the federal government, should we see any of that money trickling into this area, we've got projects for that as well. But we keep the wastewater treatment plants up to date, water treatment plants. We've done our I&I removal, so our infiltration into the sewer system is done, so we have no discharge into the rivers or anything. So we're always kind of looking ahead, kind of 2 and 3 years out, to see what projects we need to do. We've replaced every bridge in the city. I mean, we're done. Wow. Completely. But again, it takes time, right? I've had 30 years. Other mayors just walked in the door a year ago and trying to figure out what time the place opens, right? I mean, I've had that luxury of being around for 30 years.
Let's focus a little bit on safety and maybe some of the changes that have been made in Leominster during your years as mayor that have helped Leominster be a safer, more welcoming community. Well,
I think living, kind of in that French Hill area, the east side, and then being a police officer, and then working in that neighborhood, and others helped me to understand. And it's one of the reasons I ran for mayor, because I thought, every time, it wasn't just that mayor at the time, or it was just an environment where it didn't seem like they understood how to get from here to there. And I think I had that ability because I worked in it. Mm-hmm. And not that it's some big mystique or anything, but it just seemed to be the right time, the right mechanics of it all. And my big thing was I want every neighborhood safe. Not just the neighborhood I'm in, but if there's a lady that wants to walk to the 4 o'clock mass at St. Cecilia's like she's done for the last 60 years, I want her to be able to walk. If somebody wants to walk to Hannaford on Lancaster Street or Adams Street or wherever they are, Crosman Ave, the projects, Riverside Terrace, I want everybody to be safe in the community. Mm-hmm. Once you get that spiral of people feeling like their street or the neighborhood or the city isn't safe, it spirals so fast out of control. It takes forever to kind of build that image. And
right.
Tara and I were out, I don't know, a couple weeks ago. We walked the whole loop from East Side, down Lancaster Street, all up around, came down Mechanic Street. It was 9 o'clock at night. I never, ever gave it a thought. Never gave it a thought. 30 years ago, 35 years ago, people wouldn't stop at the red light at Mechanic Street and Whitney Street, let alone get out and walk. So it's important, you know, for a community to be safe, and it can be done. And for people that say it can't be done, you don't have to be a consultant. It can be done, but over time, it's taken some time. We had drug issues, we had absentee landlords, same issues everybody have,
yeah.
and you just plug away.
In today's world, of course, safety of our schools is
Paramount.
it's just become a number one on the list. So what are some of the things and steps that you, along with the police department, have taken to ensure even more safety with the students and teachers?
So not being the straight A student that everybody thinks I was, or even a B student, or maybe even a C+ student, but maybe being the get by, but enjoying, you know, I had a lot of good teachers and I got a good education. It may have, I have looked that way, and hopefully somebody destroyed my report cards along the way. But one thing you can't sacrifice anymore is safety in our schools. So you cannot, I mean, in our schools, and I say this every day, I said it in front of 1,000 employees opening day of school that work in the system. Our teachers will do anything, guidance counselors, whoever they are, will do anything to help a student succeed, get over some hurdles, whatever it takes. But you can't have assaults, you can't have threats, you can't have bullying, you can't have threats to teachers, you can't tolerate it anymore because the world has changed. And you can't anyway, but it's even compounded by the fact that, let's look at what's happened. These things never happened in schools when we were in school, never heard of it. Now you hear what happens almost, you know, twice a week. You can't tolerate it. Every parent that leaves their kid off or puts them on a school bus has to know from the time that they hand those kids over to us, they're going to be safe. Whatever the situation is, on the bus, off the bus, at the school stop, bus stop, in school, whatever it is. At a school event, you can't tolerate it. It cannot be tolerated. You can't do it. You come into these, you know, these buildings, you come to learn, we'll do anything we can, and it's a social thing coming to school too. But once it kicks into, you know, we have a memorandum of understanding with the schools. Anything that's a crime is to be reported. And we let the police department, probation department, let the courts take over. We'll work with those families. But it's an automated thing. It has to be done. We need our teachers and our professionals in the schools to be teaching. That's what they went to school for. And to see what goes on now is everywhere, universal. So my stance is hard, and it is, we can't tolerate it. We just can't. You know, maybe you could a little more years ago, and you could put up some kids, you know, a little scruffing in the schoolyard. Can't do it anymore. Can't have a kid bullied anymore. Can't. Just can't. It's not acceptable. We won't do it, and it's a different world.
This year, the Greater Gardner Relay for Life is going to celebrate their 30th.
Imagine that.
30th year. And I know you've become a big supporter.
Yes.
I know you were at the opening ceremonies this past year.
I was like the
lit
Greek
the torch,
guy,
yeah.
lighting the torch at the Olympics.
My wife and I have been involved in the relay for many years, and I just want to ask you about your decision to show more support and get involved in that.
I don't think there's a group. I mean, there are a lot of groups, but there's just something about this group of people. I mean, third largest fundraisers in the country.
Yeah.
We're talking Leominster, Fitchburg, Gardner. This is not known as, you know, communities of wealth where, you know, there's like, you know, Millionaires Alley where people are just writing checks to make this happen. Yet these people do remarkable work, and it's known all over. And all of the money that they raise goes back to, every penny goes back to research. And there's something special in the volunteers that raise this money. There's something special in their heart. Either they've been impacted by it, or they're caregivers, or somebody in their family. But the spirit that they have is just like it's hard to explain. I don't think you could take the spirit that goes on with this group and replicate it anywhere else. Like if somebody called and said, "How does this Relay for Life do this?" I don't think there's anybody that can explain it to them. I think it's something you got to see it and feel it.
Yeah.
And I mean, the survivors walk. I mean, there's nothing more touching to see, and the group is getting bigger every year, which means early detection, people going for their screenings, means we're saving a whole lot more technology. And then the biggest thing is the money that is raised is going back for research. which at the end of, so when they do the, the walk, the survivors walk, there's more people at the survivors walk.
Yeah.
So, I mean, how can't you support an effort like that? It's just like, hey, what do you need me to do? You know? I won't do the dunking booth, but anything else I'll do for you.
Now, here we are in Fitchburg Access Television, brand new facilities
Oh, my
at
word, is
780
this
Main
place
Street.
awesome?
It's great. You do a show for Leominster Television, LTV. Tell us, let yourself promote your show a little bit. Tell us about it.
So I just got elected, and this guy at WEIM, Larry Wolpe, had just taken a job as a news guy,
Yeah.
a young guy. Calls me, says, hey, I want to do a show. You want to do a show? I said, I'm not even sure where I am right now. I'm still trying to figure out where the bathroom is, let alone, you want to do a show? I said, sure, what do you want to do? He said, well, we'll just do a show on cable at the time. And it was twins, it was like the whole region. So
Yep.
it wasn't just Leominster, Fitchburg. I said, I don't know. He said, you want me to give you the questions in advance? I said, no. You want me to screen the call? No, just anybody wants to ask me a question, fine. If I don't know the answer, I'll either make it up or, I'll let them, I'll tell you what it is next week. So Larry and I started, and then it was good. It was a lot of issues going on. You got to remember, in Leominster, the protocol typically would be you ran for city council or school committee, then you ran for your ward council, then you ran for at large, then you ran for mayor. So here comes this guy, disrupts the whole apple cart, right? I mean, buddy, you didn't wait your turn.
Who does he think he is?
Hey, who do you think you are, right? You don't even know what time the place opens, right? You don't even know what's going on, right? So then I come along, and I obviously upset the culture, right? And so I knew I had to prove myself along the way, but a lot of things were going on, right? There was some of that effect of, hey, you didn't wait your turn, and there's just a whole lot of stuff that goes on that I really didn't realize. I thought you become the mayor, and everybody's like, okay, we're behind you now. Like, wow, what a what a wicked experience that was. Talk about not having a clue, and so we did the show, and then one day he says, hey, I got a job in New York doing a TV show or something. And then later he did a show called Good Morning El Paso in El Paso, Texas, like kind of morning show. I'm like, Larry, you're leaving me hanging. Well, there was nobody else to replace him. So I started doing it then. And I was very nervous, and I took a lot of commercials. But after a while, we just talked about what's important to the city. I had regular callers that call in. And then we go out into the community and tape some things and go to different events. And so, yeah, I've been doing it that long. But, you have to be in everybody else's arena. And at one time, everybody read the newspaper. Well, they don't anymore. And some people watch cable. Some people watch podcasts, some radio. Right. I do Facebook Live things every morning. You have to be where people are. And they're in different places today. It's not all the same. I remember people reading the Sentinel from the little weather to the legal ads, to the classified ads, to the comics. Divorces used to be in there, births. Everything was in there. People read it religiously. So you had to be there. And now it's, you got to be. So I've kept doing it. And we did do a live show on Thursdays. And yeah, I get good response from it. And I have fun doing it. I'm much calmer now doing the show than when I first started.
Now, finally, let's look ahead to the year coming up and some of the events that Leominster will be hosting in 2023.
As a kid, I'd go to these events, and you know how there's a hill that you slide on when you're a kid? You think it's like Mount Snow. And
Cushing Academy when I was a kid. I was out there.
Then you get older, you're like, that was it? It's like a bump. And so everything to me was, like when they have, at the end of the year, they have a lawn party at the school. When you really look at it, it wasn't that big of a deal. But when you're a kid, everything is a big deal. And so we started to do things, activities for a bunch of reasons. One is bring people downtown, get people together, do fun things, get families together. It was all of those things. And so we started doing them, and now I don't even know how many we do. In fact, I was kidding last week. I'm like, I got a new event we can do, and they all looked at me like, not another one, please, no. They're like, what is it? I said, we're gonna have like a contest, a watch the paint dry contest to see who can blink first. It's some crazy thing. Like, oh no, count me out. No part of it. I'm looking for another job. But but we have like next week is school vacation. So that'd be the week of the 19th. So we get everybody together. We put out a whole calendar of different things: rec department, at City Hall, the library, the conservation agent, and there are indoor events, outdoor events. We have a movie night where kids build their own little car and climb in it and they watch a movie. Then we have a Once Upon a Time where the kids get dressed up in like Cinderella costumes. It's fun. And we just got a ton of things going on. What we tried to do, the overall mission was to create community and events where we could help promote business, build community, and make them affordable, if not free, totally. And that's a lot of work to do that, because we don't want to have, prices for admission for this. And if you look at the Johnny Appleseed Festival, you could walk through there, maybe spend $5 or $10, and everything else was free. And the same thing with the winter stroll, the summer stroll. Hopefully we'll be bringing back the Bear Fest this year. The winter stroll was so well attended, you could tell people wanted to get out this year. But we do a thing for Easter, we do the summer stroll, we do Ladies' Night Out, Kids' Day, and then all of the festivals and everything at Johnny Apple. I'm up at Shoalin Farms, and the reception is good. And we get I'll tell you one thing, Scott. Anytime I need anything in the community, anything, a kid passes away, they don't have enough money to have a burial for them, I can pick up the phone in seconds, and I've raised more money than you could ever imagine. Nobody ever says no. Everybody helps, and that's that community spirit. And so, it started off as a joke. I was going to get a couple of my friends. We all grew up around St. Anne's Church. I was going to go downtown. We were going to get some Italian cheese, going to get some cannolis and some Italian bread and prosciutto, sneak a bottle of wine in, and we're going to just sit there like 10 of us. And then the word got out that we were having this thing. Then it turned into like the cannoli fest. I'm like, it was just us. Like, my friends are like, it was just supposed to be us. Next thing I know, everyone wants to be part of it. And we got this event in October called the Cannoli Fest. And people were there till 1 in the morning in line to get a cannoli. And last year, 2 people showed up and said, we met here at the cannoli, we're married now. We met at the Cannoli Fest.
Wow.
And you got all these people. And so we have a lot of fun, right? I mean, that's really what it's about. And back to what I was saying, as a kid, everything seemed bigger, and I hope we're creating those memories for those kids and those families so that, the dumbest little thing seems like the biggest and the best thing, so they can pass that on to their kids.
Well, it's great talking to you and great seeing you. And I think back to the days when I was working at WPKZ with
That's
Ben
right.
Parker, and you used to pop in and say hello.
Pop in, I was invited.
Yeah, you were. You were scheduled, that's right. But it's good to see you, and congratulations on your
Thank
career.
you. I'm having fun.
Good, good.